I recently went to a community craft supply swap. This was an event put on by a local group where people could bring in art and craft supplies that they have but aren't using and trade with other people. It was a really fun event. It was a great way to meet other artsy people in the community, as well as clearing out my stash and getting some new stuff that I could use. And one thing that I walked away from that event with was this stack of upholstery fabric samples. And of course, given the way I've explained this event, you would think that somebody brought these in and I traded with them to get these. And you would think that. But no, actually, I brought these in, or more correctly, my mom brought them in. We went together. We both have a bunch of art supplies. If you've ever wondered why I am like this, it's her. It is genetic. But she had a bunch of fabric that she wanted to bring to this event, and she had me go through it to pick out anything that I wanted to keep beforehand, and I apparently did not do a very good job at that. I did pull out some stuff before we went to the event, but once we got there, I took the big box of fabric over to the designated fabric table and dumped it out, and all of these were sitting there, and I looked at them and I went, oh, I want those. So I snagged this stack of fabric samples. Some of them are 100% cotton, others are cotton poly mixes. Kind of a mid to heavyweight canvas, plain weave, pretty simple. This one passes 51,000 double rubs Weizenbeek method. But I've got all these samples. I think they're really pretty, and I want to make something with them. So I'm not sure what at the moment, but we'll figure that out together. Come with me as I figure it out. Welcome to the floor. As I said, I'm not really sure what I want to make with all of these. I don't have that many. I think I want to lay them all out and get an idea of how much fabric I'll be able to make if I patchwork them all together. It'll also be good to take a look at all of the different patterns, because there's a couple different designs going on. There's two different kinds of gingham. There's a slightly bigger one that's just white and another color, and then there's a slightly smaller style that has white and then one color for the vertical stripes and a different color for the horizontal ones. There's also just some simple pinstripes. There's a different stripe pattern that has alternating wide and thin stripes that I really like. And there's also a checkered plaid version. They all are using the same family of colors, which I think makes them work together really well. The only real odd one out is this one thin striped one that's just gray. I mean, it's oh, I already ripped the label off. It doesn't have the name. It's just gray. I think it was probably slate or morning mist or something, because they all have whimsical names. This one's called Bluebird. This one's called Puddle. This one's Butternut. I'll probably not use the gray, but I'll just set it to the side. 1, 2, 3, 8, 9, 30. 30 exactly. Okay, I'm gonna lay these out and get an idea for how much material I would have if I used all of these. Okay, so that's kind of what we're working with. And you know what this is making me think of? Those plaid shorts from the early 2000s that every child owned. You know them. You remember them. It's kind of giving that vibe with the patchwork of different stripes and ginghams and plaids and everything. Oh, I might make a pair of shorts. Take each one of these, cut them in half. That'll give me more of a square. It's still not quite a square, it's still a little bit of a rectangle, but it's closer. Would this be enough fabric for shorts? This is a really rough estimate. I've just kind of haphazardly laid them out with a bit of an overlap, so that's not very scientific, but let me continue to be unscientific here. This is a pair of shorts that I own that I already like the fit of. Oh, I think it's possible. I think it can be done. Before I can do any sewing, I need to get the labels off of these. They're just paper glued on. I've already tried peeling some of them off. They don't really want to come off very easily, so I think I'm gonna have to soak them all in water and see if I can get them off better that way. Okay, I've gotten all the labels off of my fabric pieces. I should not have just stuck them all in the water straight off to peel the labels off, because the water definitely helped get the paper off, but it left the glue behind. And before soaking them in the water, I was able to peel off most of the label, and when you peel it off dry, it takes the paper and the glue together. Peeling all the paper off dry and then soaking them to get the last little bit off would have been the better move, but I stuck them all in the water all at once because I thought it would be a good shot. But all of the paper is off. Some of them do still have a little bit of glue left, so I do want to wash these. So I'm gonna zigzag all the edges. It won't be that bad. There's only 30. I'm going to run them through the wash. I've also got some bed sheets that a neighbor was getting rid of. They're like a nice crispy cotton. There's a white one and then kind of like a grayish blue slate color one, and I'm thinking I can use those for like the pockets and any other little fiddly bits where I need just a little bit more fabric. So I will wash those with all of my swatches, but before that I need to zig and I need to zag. Okay, possible change of plans for what I'm making in this video, which if this is the case, you will already know based on the thumbnail and title. So I was sitting here just zigzag stitching all of my pieces, just kind of mindlessly going through them all, and I was thinking of all the different projects I want to work on, and I thought about how I've been meaning to make a dust cover for my machine for the longest time, because she gets dusty. Dust can like get into all the machinery and gunk things up. And I was thinking, ooh, I could do like a cute little patchwork thing. That'd be really nice. And like the more I thought about it, the dust cover is going to be something I see every day because my machine just lives on my desk. I want it to be something I really enjoy looking at. And I really enjoy looking at all of these pieces. If I'm being honest with myself, I don't wear shorts that often. I'm going to do some quick measurements of the machine and figure out dimensions. And if I have enough material to do a dust cover, I think I'm gonna do a dust cover instead. That would be like 27.5. Let me do some mocking up in Illustrator just to see, because I feel like this should be enough, but I don't actually know. It feels like this would take less fabric than a pair of shorts, but I don't know how many shorts equals one sewing machine cover. They didn't teach me that in math class. Okay, so I've done some really quick mocking up in Illustrator just to get an idea of if I would have enough material, and I think I would. So I made this quick grid. It's just, if I take all of my fabric swatches, cut them in half, and then sew them together with 3/8 seam allowance, and then I took my measurements of my machine, added in the seam allowance, and then laid out those boxes, and I can definitely fit all of them on there. But then I thought it could be fun to also do each square cut in half diagonally to make like little triangles. That could be fun too. But doing that will also shrink each square because you have that diagonal seam going through that takes up a seam allowance. I did that math and worked out the size of each square if I did them all in half diagonally, and then I can still fit everything on, but just barely, and I have to kind of shrink each panel a tiny bit, but I think it should still work. But I want to make a quick mock-up at these dimensions just to see and make sure. I should actually probably finish zigzagging my fabric and then actually get that washed, and then I can do the mock-up. Gone ahead and made a paper mock-up version of the cover. There we go. Yeah. I'm thinking when I sew this, I'm going to do the front and back and the top as just one big piece, and then have the sides as individual pieces, and just kind of round these corners out a little bit, because there's definitely a lot of space at the corners. And I'll probably leave just like a little mouse hole cut out over here so that I can leave it plugged in, because I've never unplug my machine. I feel like I've seen a lot of people talk about their sewing space like, this is where I have my machine when I'm working with it, and this is where I put it away when I'm not working with it. And like for me, it's like, this is where it is when I'm working with it. but this is where it is when I'm not working with it. So I'm just gonna make a little access hole down there. The pattern is good. My fabric is out of the wash now. It is dried, so I can go ahead and start ironing those flats and then cutting them down and start patchworking. I could just use this as my dust cover. That'd be great. As much as I want to have a cover for my sewing machine, I'm a little bummed out by the fact that it's going to cover all of my stickers, which I've been collecting for a few years. So I decided to make a few little patches to kind of fulfill the same purpose. I've been really wanting to do some lino cut printing for a while, so I think this is a great excuse to play around and make some cute little designs. Okay, so I've gotten all of my stamps printed. I'm really happy with how they came out. I think they look very cute. I just printed them onto some cotton muslin that I had. I'm letting those dry now, and while those are drying, I'm going to finish the patchwork for the sides of the cover, and then we can move on from there. The patchworking is all done. I've got the side pieces all cut out and ready to go. I do want to do some quilting with these pieces before cutting out the lining and assembling everything together. I do have some quilt batting, but I think that's going to be too thick for this. I don't want it to be super heavy. So instead of batting, I'm just going to quilt this onto some flannel. I have an old flannel fitted sheet, so I'm going to cut some pieces out of this, make them slightly smaller than my patchwork so that I don't have that extra bulk in the seam allowances. The patchwork is done. The quilting is done. I have basted down the edges of the flannel just because it didn't get caught in any of the quilting, and I didn't want them flapping around and getting out of place when I assemble things. I've got the lining pieces cut out, so now I can assemble all of my patchwork pieces into the outer shell, and then I can do the same with the lining, and before I attach them together, I can add on my patches to the patchwork. Put the patches on the patchwork. I'm planning on using double-sided heat and bond, the iron-on stuff, roughly cut around this chunk of my prints, and also this guy. Give them a nice wide margin. That's not how that's meant to be folded. I'm so glad I live in an era where I don't need to have maps, because I would not survive having to fold stuff like this all the time. There are some benefits to technology. Not many, but some. This is the person who does YouTube full time. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 1 Mississippi, 2 to Mississippi. I went in and marked out a little box to cut out for the outlet access. So this will be the right side. So this is the front. I do think that is like my favorite square, so I think that patch right there would be cool. Yeah, maybe I like that. I do kind of like them all clustered together. Oh, I didn't take the paper off. Schwink. There we go. And bada bing. 1, 2, 3. There we go. Much better. I shall let that cool, and then I will do some little embroidered borders. Okay, so it is the next day. The outer shell is all totally done. All the patchworking assembly, the patches, the embroidery, all of that is done. I just need to assemble the lining and attach them together, and then the cover will be complete. I've been debating how I want to go about doing the lining, whether I want to do a bag lining where I just put the 2 layers right sides together, so around the bottom edge, leave a gap, turn it out, finish that opening by hand, done, have a finished edge that way, or if I want to basically flatline them together and then finish the bottom edge with binding. Because I think having the binding along the bottom edge would be a nice little detail to have, and it would be just a straight line all the way around if it wasn't for the little cutout that I'm adding for the cable to pass through. So because of that, I have to do mitered corners, which is scary. It's actually 2 mitered corners and then 2 inverted mitered corners, which is even more scary. But I think I can do it. So I'm gonna try and do the binding and see how that goes. If it's a total flop, I can always just rip it off and then just do the bag lining style. So I'm going to assemble all of the lining pieces, get those sewn together, and then I'm going to cut out some bias binding. Does it need to be bias binding? I'm not going around any curves, so it doesn't really need to stretch. I have the mitered corners, but if you fold it, you don't stretch it for mitered corners, so I think I can cut it on the straight grain. I think it'll be fine. So the bias binding is now on. I loosely followed a YouTube tutorial for the inverted mitered corners. I think they're a little bit janky, but overall I think they look pretty good. So now I am just pulling out the basting stitches from earlier, and then I'm going to give this all one final press just to smooth things out, and then the cover will be done. So that is that. I don't have too much to say about it. It is perhaps a bit too big. It works just fine for me. I really like the patches. They were so fun. They came out really cute. I'm planning on like collecting more iron-on patches to add onto this over time. I made sure to give the machine a good cleaning inside and out before putting the cover on. It does kind of feel like I'm tucking her into bed at the end of the day. It feels like the right thing to do, you know? My sewing machine helps me create a bunch of beautiful clothing for myself, so she deserves to have a nice little outfit too. I would highly recommend this as a project if you are interested and don't have a machine cover. It can be as simple or as complicated as you would like it to be. You could use fabric left over from another sewing project. You could make a matching outfit for you and your sewing machine. I can't do that because I used up all of the fabric samples on this, and I don't need 2 machine covers. So I'm not going to do that, unfortunately. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'd like to give an extra special thank you to all of my patrons, in particular everyone in the Magnanimous Maelstroms tier: Oscar, Obi Nick Kenobi, Evelyn, Trapped in the Midwest, Bear Hardy, and Perfect Primrose. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!